Hey you guys, great day from Morocco. We out here still getting used to the time schedule. We're 8 hours behind in California, so I'm still getting a little adjusted. Really nice apartment out here. The prices are not bad. Obviously, if you're doing Airbnb, you pay a lot more than what you would pay if you went through Facebook Marketplace or just the regular way that people go about. Facebook Marketplace might not be the best as well. Yeah, it's an interesting time to be traveling. It's an interesting time to be out, especially with all the stuff going on in the Middle East and the flotillas. I think we're all on the edge of our seat about that. Just munching on some grapes, seeded grapes at that. I got them for free actually. I asked the guy in Arabic for some coconuts because in my experience, the average person on the street doesn't speak English. In establishments, I would say it's like 50-50. So yeah, establishments for sure. But as far as like just on the streets, like food vendors or whatever, not much. And Arabic is extremely hard to learn. That's not just my opinion. It's said by many people. You know, it's hard to read, it's hard to learn, it's hard to speak it if you don't speak that type of language, or your native language is not even somewhat close to it, or doesn't even use those type of sounds. But yeah, you know, the whole world is like, where are we gonna go? What's next? You know what I mean? Because everyone's getting sick of all the shit, you know, and we're not trusting really even the people who are supposed to be taking care of us, which is the first mistake in general, you know. And sovereignty is not exactly easy. So, you know, might come a point in time where people just up and leave where they're at and try to be in other places. But the thing is, have you traveled? Have you actually been to other places? Do you know what life is like in other places? Do you know what you're like in other places? You know? Because traveling really lets you know what you're made out of, because you're going to be in certain situations that are not ideal. And, you know, you can cave as much as you can, but really, especially if you're solo traveling, nothing's really going to help you, you know? So you got to think ahead about everything. You have to consider the worst case scenarios and everything. Don't be naive. Definitely be trusting. Oh, wow. What's the first time I'm seeing one of these out here? Y'all know what that is. Not surprised. I'm not surprised. I was ever at where I was like, they do that out here too, is fucking Jamaica. I was surprised to see it out there. But after that and after this, it's like the whole world, dude. And that's another thing about this place is that, you know, everywhere, every country I've gone to, I might have been in like 7 countries by now, they're poisoning the world everywhere. It's bad in the US, it's bad in Mexico, it's bad in the Caribbean. It's bad out here too. They're poisoning everywhere. I mean, this is standard right here. Like, this is standard. And if you're not into health, eco-friendly, if you're just overall, you wouldn't even got to put too many labels on it. If you're just not into health, you're not going to realize what's wrong with that. But if you are into health, tell me what's wrong with this picture. Tell me what's wrong with this picture. You know, color dyes, that stuff, it takes literally like less than 10 seconds for that to seep into your bloodstream as soon as it touches your skin. This is our largest organ, you know, and it's bare, you know, bare skin. So we're constantly absorbing through our skin. And that stuff, you know the rest. You should know by now, you know, it's just disease, you know, illness, cancer causing, all that stuff, you know, it's no bueno. And if you're not careful and if you don't care about it, all this stuff adds up, it all piles up. So to be healthy is a constant. I mean, I don't even really see it as a fight. I don't want to see it that way, but in a way it is. You know, you are fighting for your health. You do got to be conscious. Like I said, you got to just know the world that you're in. You know, and everything's polluted these days. It doesn't mean that we need to be polluted. You know, just because garbage goes in the garbage bin doesn't mean the garbage bin needs to stink by itself. It needs to be dirty and all caked up. You know, just because dirty dishes go in the sink doesn't mean that the sink bowl needs to be filthy and disgusting. You know, so don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And there's a lot of ways to be up on your health when you're traveling. Use your phone. Your phone's gonna be your best friend. It's the best thing you could do. You know, if you have to be raw about it, a lot of juice is easy to make. Fruits are available all around the world. Um, and as long as you can get a translator or make your point across about what you do or don't eat, then you should be fine. I haven't had a problem so much out here. You know, I don't limit myself to places that I go based on vegetarian options, but it's a huge influence. I would be lying if I would say that it's not. Um, have I ever thought of going somewhere, looked into veg life, and realized I'm not going to be able to survive out there? I don't really think so. I don't really think so. Um, Not really, honestly, because the worst case, because if I'm really called to go somewhere, I'll go. And if in the worst case scenario, I'll already have the mentality like, yo, you're just gonna go fruitarian here, you know, or like beans is just real simple, you know. Like Mexico is great. Mexico is great for that. Um, I'm not worried about Ethiopia. A lot of the food out there is just naturally veg, anyways, naturally vegetarian. So yeah, life out here with health and all that jazz. Eh, the people here are naturally. I think if you're an outside culture, if you're a working culture, I think there's a natural health to that. Like people aren't as. I don't see overweight people here too much. Everyone walks, you know. So people, I don't. I wouldn't say there's a big. I wouldn't say there's a big health push here at all in Casablanca in Morocco. I'll say Casablanca specifically because I haven't been to other places, but I will be traveling and I will be reviewing how life is and how health, all that stuff goes out there because not everyone cares. A lot of people, I mean, no offense to anyone, I won't say any names or my relations to whomever, but I've let's just say I've traveled with people who want to go eat McDonald's in Hawaii, you know, and like and I wouldn't even say that they want to do that. They just don't know any better. They're so addicted to the food. They fast food robs us of our true organic taste buds and our true organic choices and interests in food because it just gives you a fixed palate. You get addicted to it. It's good enough, and you don't want anything else. The scariest part of McDonald's is not exactly how poor the quality of the food is, but how people can, what it's doing to your chemistry for you to be able to eat it for 10 years in a row. Like, straight, you know? 'Cause there are some people who do that, you know, and they claim it's survival and this and blah, blah, blah. I heard something the other day that fucked my head up, and I thought this is actually, there's some truth to it. There's always some truth to wisdom that people spew, you know? Someone said, poverty is ignorance too. I thought that was deep. I thought that was very deep because it takes a very mature mindset to be able to grasp that. It's not black and white. I'm not saying anybody who's born into poverty and has a 5% chance of getting out is ignorant. That is not what is being said here. But if you keep yourself in poverty with the opportunity to get out, that is ignorance. And I will stand on that and I will back that because that's true. And I'll say that to say this: if you're eating these fast food and you know better, and you have the money, you have the resources to be able to eat better, and you know what? If you're in the first world country, I'm not going to speak. I mean, even though it's not much different in other places of the world, I'll only just speak for the U.S. because I know the reality of the U.S. That's never anybody's true reality where you have to eat fast food. That is not the reality. Because whatever that fast food costs, you can buy that in fruits and vegetables. For a fact. You can. But we don't want to eat that because it's not as nutrient dense and this and that and blah, blah. It's like, if there's a will, there's a way. If you pray, if you ask God, you will receive. Ask and you shall receive. Oh man, they're still spraying. Now they're going in a different direction. It's kind of wild out here, though. I'm not gonna lie, but it's cool. It's very cool. It's really appreciated. It just feels awesome to be here, like straight up. It's just life outside of the United States is way less stressful. We stress so much in the United States. It's stressful to even think about how much we stress in the United States. And I remember when I left for my first 6 months to go live in Mexico, I came back and I was like, damn, all y'all have not had a break from the stress. You know? It's like being an indentured servant, right? With no holiday. And it's like, yo, I'm right here with you guys. But like, hey, I just got a little 6 month vacation. I was just living. I didn't really plan on moving. I didn't really plan on coming back either. It just happened that way. But when I came back to the States after 6 months of being away, and I picked up on the energetic grid of tension that just existed in the States, I was like, holy cow. So I almost felt bad. Like you almost feel guilty. Where it's like everyone's been enduring the whippings and the beatings, and you're like, and they don't know. I don't have it written on my face, hey, been gone for 6 months, unless you know. And even the people who do know don't even get it. They don't even know that you get a break from the stress. It's just the rat race in the States and becoming anywhere in the developed first worlds. I did see the reality in Europe, though. I did see the reality in Europe. And by speaking to the locals and stuff, one guy who I met at the skate park really taught me something, or told me something that was very eye-opening. And I was complimenting the social culture and how I feel that the social culture in Spain is much better than the United States. I mean, that city alone tells me a lot about the country, but I do got to explore more of the country to speak on the country. And I'll just say Spain compared to, I mean, Barcelona compared to any of the metropolitans I've been to in the United States. Social culture, I would say, definitely a lot better. It's a lot safer. People just get it. There's just less tension. There's less violence. Um, and the dude at the skate park, he was telling me, he goes, we understand and we get it and we know that it is better, like socially. Which is nice to hear a person not lie and not be polite about it. Like, yeah, we know. But he said the reason for that is because we just don't have as much opportunity. We don't have as much money. We choose time over money. So everyone just has the luxury and the leisure to do so. Now that might not be the case for everyone, but I would bet that it's probably the case for the majority of the person. He said that very comfortably and confidently. He was from Argentina. He had been living in Spain for I think like 9 years, and he's been to the States. And you got to talk to people who've been around, because if you're speaking to a person who's never left their reality or their mentality, they're coming from a skewed perspective. It's never going to be exactly. No one can speak for anyone, anyways. But if you ask enough people and you get enough different perspectives, you'll understand that the truth is somewhere in the middle. You know. So it's important to travel. It's important to ask questions. It's important to explore. It's important to find out things for yourself. Don't just rely on YouTube. Don't just rely on information. For me, I would say personally in my life, word of mouth is like, I put that top tier 100%. And oddly, I would say the internet too. I would say like YouTube. Like if I'm watching a YouTube vlog of someone walking around with like a selfie stick or just filming themselves in that space, that's pretty telling versus just reading it on a blog. So I'm a see it to believe it kind of person sometimes. I'm a very visual person, visual learner. So yeah, it's important. I mean, you guys explore as much as you can. Another point that I want to bring up is like, can we even do that now? I mean, there's so much tension about what's going on and these digital IDs, and there might even be a big ass standoff with traveling because of all this fucking digital ID shit. I'm glad I'm here right now. Because if it comes down to, because if it boils down to everyone just gets one shot, and it's like, all right, fuckers, like, go where you want to be, bring the money, or here's the money. Who knows what these fucking governments have coming for us, but God always stands with us. We are God's children, so we don't need to be afraid, honestly. We really don't need to be afraid about anything. So what I was getting with this is that it helps to have traveled, because if it ever comes to a point in time where you feel like you do just up and need to leave and just go somewhere else, hopefully that'll never be an emergency situation. Hopefully it'll just be from the heart or just from a soul calling. But you don't want to guess, and you don't want to, but truthfully, circling back to what I just said, if you're just trusting in the Most High, it's like there's a beautiful saying in Arabic, but I can say it in English, where it says, trust in Allah, but still tie your camel. It's like balance. It's all about balance, and I think that's part of, I want to finish my point first before I get this little extra side note. But it's all about balance. It's all about balance, Can't be too one way, because it's off balance. And that brings me to another point about here with the Arabic culture, is that they're very religious, and I notice a lot of them smoke cigarettes, and some of the women, and just people who you just think would not be dabbling in unhealthy shit like that. And I think that just comes from that faith base, it'll be my time when it's my time, and nothing will hurt me, and if it's supposed to happen, it's supposed to happen. And that's ultimately true. But I love that saying, have faith, but still do the human things too, because we are still human bodies. We did still incarnate here to be in this human reality. So we are going to have human measures, like they say, desperate times calls for desperate measures, human times calls for human circumstances. The body, the flesh is not, it's not guaranteed, it's not even to be trusted, right? So yeah, a little tidbit, just some tips on traveling and just getting through. I really suggest people to travel. I don't want to spew any fear. I don't know what the future is going to hold, but if this isn't a bit, and it's weird that we even have to think like this, yo, is this going to be accessible in the future? It's been like this even in 2020. I thought 2020 was the ball dropped. All right, I got to stay here. If I got to go anywhere, I'm driving to Costa Rica, right? But no, I mean, who knows? Who knows? And maybe it's never stopped, In the 70s, when the Vietnam War was happening, and they thought it was the end, and then there's so many times in history where we think it's the end. So I balance that perspective with my reality, where I'm this isn't the first time, and I'm not the first person, I'm not the first generation to think it might not be able to happen again, but we got to just keep trusting, we got to just keep living and have faith, and ultimately just be brave, be curious, live the life you're supposed to live, and do good by yourself, because you can't get the time back, you can't get the energy back, and it's priceless. Living a good life is priceless, and living the life that you give yourself is priceless too, People can do a lot for you, but you can do so much more for yourself. Peace, you guys. See ya.